Bhagavan Tatha Prahedam Viduram Prita Anvikshyam Prachodita Sutovacha Dvaipayana Shakhastut Evam Maitreyo Bhagavan Tatha Prahedam Viduram Prita Anvikshikyam Prachodita. Synonym Sutovacha. Sutta Goswami said, Dvaipayana Sakha, friend of Vyasadeva. Two, then, Evam, thus, Maitreya, Bhagavan, worshipful, Tatha, in that way, Praha, spoke, Idam, this, Viduram, to Vidura, Prita, being pleased, Anvishikyam, about transcendental knowledge, Prachodita, being asked. Translation by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Sutta Goswami said, the most powerful sage Maitreya was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows. Purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Questions and answers are very satisfactorily dealt with when the inquirer is bona fide and the speaker is also authorized. Here, Maitreya is considered a powerful sage, and therefore he is also described as Bhagavan. This word can be used not only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but for anyone who is almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Maitreya is addressed as Bhagavan because he was spiritually far advanced. He was a personal friend of Dvaipayana Vyasadeva, a literary incarnation of the Lord. Maitreya was very pleased with the inquiries of Vidura because they were the inquiries of a bona fide advanced devotee. Thus, Maitreya was encouraged to answer. When there are discourses on transcendental topics between devotees of equal mentality, the questions and answers are very fruitful and encouraging. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupakadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakkamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataru Vesha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivash Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lachalivasa Nitya Paramatmani Balabhadra Subhadra Abhyang Jagannatha Hitanamo. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha every day in the morning, where we systematically, step by step, every verse by verse, we go through Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimate Purana, Bhagavad Purana. So here, Sutta Uvacha, Sutta Goswami, is speaking in Naimisharanya. And what he is speaking about? He is speaking about what Maitreya Muni is going to speak. So as you can see, this is a conversation within a conversation, where Sutta Goswami is mentioning that Dvaipayana Sakhas tu evam. That means now, and Maitreya Bhagavan Tata. So Maitreya Muni, who is like Bhagavan, That's the point we have to discuss. Maitreya Bhagavan Tata. Maitreya Muni, who is like Bhagavan, and he was Sakha. Who's Sakha? Dvaipayana. Dvaipayana means Vyasadeva. So Maitreya Muni is a friend of Vyasadeva, who is a literary incarnation of the Lord. And then the second couplet talks about Prahedam Viduram Prita Anviksham Prajotita. So now he's going to speak about the transcendental knowledge to whom? Viduram and Preeta. Viduram, he is very pleased with Vidurji, and that's why he is pleased with Vidurji? With his humility, with his question answer style, with his ability to probe in a way where the answers can be given in a very Krishna conscious way, which is very important. So we'll talk about two things. Who is Bhagavan and why is Maitreya Muni referred here as Bhagavan? And then the second topic we're going to discuss is how to ask questions and how to probe the person. Some of you may have done interviews in whatever capacity. Sometimes when you do interviews, you realize within 5-10 minutes you could understand the person who is giving the answer, whether he is fit for the job, because he would be basically speaking in terms which is aligning with the job. So likewise, here the importance of how to probe, how to ask question in a humble manner is being discussed. So we're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about two things as to who is Bhagavan and why Maitreya Muni is referred as Bhagavan here. And then we'll talk around how to ask question in a humble manner in a Krishna conscious movement so that we get the best outcome from the discussion. And we will try to prove this further. So with that said, so when the question is being asked between an inquirer to a provider of the answers in Krishna conscious manner. The intent should be not to probe like you probe in other places where you seems to know everything and you ask with a question of testing somebody. But but in Krishna consciousness, in our ability to gain subject matter expertise from a bona fide spiritual master or somebody who is like him, has to ask with humility, because if there is no humility, then the question answer is more like a challenging manner. So in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. The person who is full with knowledge, he is like a fruit in a tree which is always sunken. A person who knows the facts of the matter, when he knows the inner workings of the consciousness and who we are, who is the supreme, who is knowledgeable in everything. He is knowledgeable in everything, but still we have the puffed upness so that as if we know a lot, because we don't recognize that there is somebody who is so much knowledgeable that however hard we try, we cannot get there. So with that ability, if we bolster that humility in us, we'll ask the right questions. So here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is saying, Tadvidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevayat. Prashna means question. And the question has to be asked in a manner. And sometime back, we in our temple, a long time back, probably 10 years, 15 years back, we had a program in probably we're getting 10 years closer in Plainfield, because we moved in 2014. But around that time, close to 9-10 years ago, we had a program, and in the program the person who was asking question was very scientific oriented. He had knowledge about the technology. He had knowledge about so many day-to-day material things, and he was unable to uh, understand the relationship between uh, a person who is in the audience to somebody who is a spiritual master, and to that question answer was full of puffed upness, and we had his Holiness Bhaktiyar Maharaj, who kind of probed him. Instead of he probing the question, Maharaj probed him, and through probing him again and again, he toned down, and then he could truly ask the right question. Many times we have audiences who will ask question to seek whether the person who they are asking the question knows the facts or not. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is nowadays with this social networking. So what is happening is people are taking a clip from a particular question answer and they're blowing it up outside. So when you basically take a portion of a little thing and you blow it outside, you're basically talking out of context. And in out of context, many devotees of ISKCON who Srila Prabhupada has taught us to preach with facts are getting trapped in this material world. Because in this material world, you might have heard, it went in the news, in YouTube, somebody took the interview of somebody, but the intent was absolutely nothing wrong. The intent was absolutely factual. But the way the words are massaged in the question answer, it appeared as if our preachers from ISKCON, they are trying to undermine another group. And it came out in a very negative way in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And that led to the preacher, taken offline for some time, and he's back again. So the fact of the matter is, and he accepted it, because when we are speaking something, we have to be not only politically correct, but we have to be also factual, because we cannot hurt the sentiments. So asking questions and getting the answer is a very unique thing, and we all have to learn how to learn the question answering. Here Vidurji is very knowledgeable. Vidurji is is very pious, he's very humble. He could have asked the question because he want to understand the nectar of this Krishna consciousness process again and again and again. More and more, he hears from exalted devotee like Maitreya Muni, he is going to get purified. So he knows that. In spite of knowing the truth, he wants to engage, having an engaging conversation. As you engage more and more, you understand these little nuances, because the same verse can be spoken in 10 different ways by 10 different speakers, because we all have individual souls. And when the individual soul take the subject matter and present it, they come up with a unique manner of presentation. And that really helps give a perspective which is so emphatic, which is so unique. And that's the reason why, based on the fact may be same, but based on a kind of question which is asked, the answers can be different. And when the answers are different, the essence and the nectar comes out very nicely. So there is an actual process of question answer. We should be humble enough to ask in a way which is going to prolong our ability to engage the speaker who is providing the answer. And and that is a topic which is very important, which is coming out so nicely. As in Srimad Bhagavatam, you have a conversation within a conversation in a recursive loop, and we have to see that how Maitreya Muni and Vidurji's discussion, which is called Maitreya Vidur Maitreya Sambad, is glorified. There are facts, there are rules, there are axioms, there are theories which have been come out, and now in some more time we'll have the conversation between Kapiladev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his mother Devahuti, and that itself is a treatise of its own, wherein the discussion between when two great personalities talk, what they talk, how they talk, the achar they indulge in talking, the kind of words they use. Sometimes Lord Krishna will be using Dhananja to refer to Krishna. Sometimes he will be using the word Partha to Krishna, and sometimes he will be using the word Gudakesh to Arjuna. You see, the same person is referring to the same person. with different tones, with different modes, with different mellows. And that is an essence of having the question answer done in such a way that the recipient is fully engaged to answer the question. So in that conversation, which happened 9, 10 years back, Bhakti Charu Maharaj saw that this person is coming up with a lot of puffed upness. It was in the community hall. And in order to get the answer, he 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 asked counter questions, and then he answered. And after that, this person calmed down, and and that is the process. Our question answering should not be with an intent to hurt somebody or with an intent to defy or ask with a question of probing mentality to check his knowledge, rather than to gain our own knowledge by answering and asking question in the right manner. So that is one topic we really wanted to talk about. And the second topic we want to talk about is, why is Maitreya Muni referred here as Bhagavan? And that is why we want to understand uh, who is Bhagavan. As you know, in Vishnu Puran, Bhagavan is one who possesses Bhaga, one who possesses Bala is Balaban, one who possesses Dhana is Dhanavan. Likewise, one who possesses Bhaga is Bhagavan. And there, Parasar Muni explains so beautifully that anyone who possesses Aishwarya, and Aishwarya in whole, and Vira, strength in whole, Yasha, influence, Shriya, Jnana. And after you have all this, you are so puffed up, because after you have all these five things: riches, strength, uh, influence, wisdom, beauty, you are so puffed up you can't renunciate because you have everything. In spite of having this five, if you have the sixth one, then you are uh, having full renunciation. One who possesses the six qualities has the ability to carry six opulences, and these opulences are called Bhaga. One who possesses Bhaga, he is Bhagavan. So here, Maitreya Muni in this context doesn't possess all of this, but still he's referred as Bhagavan. So sometimes, as you can see this picture, Ramji, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ramji is crossing the bridge to Lanka. And how he's crossing the bridge? He's crossing the bridge walking / being lifted by monkeys to Lanka. And on the right, you see Hanumanji. He's just jumping and flying into Lanka to identify and recognize and find Mother Sita. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this context is walking, he's being lifted here. And at the same time, Hanumanji, who is the greatest servitor of Ramji, he's flying. And when he's flying like a champion. And when you see this, you realize, if you don't know who God is, you would think Hanumanji is God personified. Without knowing the prowess of Ram and Lakshman, you'd think Hanumanji is God personified. Whenever we refer to Lord Shiva considers Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's always chanting in Kailas or in various different places where Lord Shiva, he exhibits his pastime. And there are many places where he exhibits his pastime. He exhibits his wonderful pastimes, Lord Shiva with Mother Parvati in Bhubaneswar Dham. And there are a lot of scriptural references to that as well. Likewise, so when we refer to Lord Shiva, we refer as to him as God or Lord Shiva. And in that, but in spite of that, Lord Shiva thinks that he's a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. That means Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. So in that context, if you see, as Srila Prabhupada is explaining, anybody who rubbed your soldier, like say for example, you think about if you want to find out who you are, you know, if you can probe further, you can know where he works or what he does, but you just ask a question, who are your friends? If the person said, my friends are all doctors, there is a great chance that he's a doctor. Likewise, if you see or hear ask a question, who are your friends? And they say, he says, my friends are businessmen. So there's a good chance that he is a businessman. And likewise, if a person is an engineer or in an IT profession or a devotee, they will say, and from that, so based on the company you keep, you are recognized. And based on the company you keep, your behavior, your interactions changes. And when it changes, you shape the character of that person who you are representing. So likewise, when you serve God, when you uh, when you're so pure about your position, your consciousness about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are already recognized as that person. So, so in that context, Maitreya Muni is referred. Maitreya Muni is not God, but he is referred here as God because he exhibits all the qualities of in that manner wherein it is very relevant for him to spread the message. When he was rubbing his shoulder with Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is a literary incarnation. He wrote all the Vedas, all the Upanishads. Nowadays we are doing Upanishad, Ishopanishad, one of the 108 Upanishads Vyasadeva wrote. We are doing, there are all the Puranas he wrote. So he is a literary incarnation of the Lord. And Maitreya Muni, having rubbed the shoulders, exactly like the example we gave, he is God himself. So here, when Sukadev Goswami in that lineage, when Sutta Goswami in Namisharana, when he is referring Maitreyo Bhagavan Statha, that means he is like God in this context. Sometimes what happens whenever you are in a distress, whenever you are in a precarious condition, you seek for God's assistance, and at the time, a person arrives. When the person arrives and solves all the problems for you, you think God has sent him, and you think God in that person. Exactly like that, exactly like how this interaction, this conversation is expanding. You know, Sutta Goswami in Namisharana is discussing this beautiful subject matter, and he is referring to Maitreya Muni as God himself. And in subsequent verses, Maitreya Muni is going to speak. And what he's going to speak? He's going to speak about interaction between Kapiladev and Mother Devhuti. So Mother Devhuti, Kapiladev is speaking, and that conversation is spoken by Maitreya Muni and Vidurji, and that conversation is spoken by Sutta Goswami in Namisharana. See how beautiful the conversation recursion is happening with three layers. And whenever we hear about the conversation about great people, we recognize that there is such a element of mellow which we all should imbibe. And here Maitreya Muni is referred as Bhagavan. He's exactly like Bhagavan. In order to seek transcendental knowledge, Vidurji, who is such a powerful personality, everybody were in Hastinapur and in the war zone at the time of crisis. But Vidurji, even if he is referred as he is he's referred in a very low manner by Duryodhan, he just left. He spoke the facts. So Vidurji, at one point, Vidurji was a very capable archer as well. If he would have wanted, he could have taken a big fight with Duryodhana, and Duryodhana would have been into his knees. But he chose to protest. He chose to respect the facts, and he left Hastinapur because there was too much of injustice which was happening, and he had the guts. And that person who had the guts to defy all odds could come in, and now in the banks of river, he's having this wonderful discussion with Maitreya Muni, and this entire canto and more and less is all going to be interaction, and which is being referred by various different people, and that is why he's he's very knowledgeable, but he found solace in identifying his guru in this sense with Maitreya Muni and seeking the pastimes of the Lord and glorify the Lord through the. So whenever in childhood, whenever somebody would go to a movie and the movie is a good movie, when you are not conscious, you try to understand the plot of the movie so that you, if you don't have time or whatever to go to a movie, at least you get. So likewise, hearing about very important personalities, significant personalities, Krishna consciousness personalities is a very important thing. And how slowly and slowly we are getting into into conversation, and how some of the rules, the theories we are going to learn as we learn how Kapila Dev is going to interact with Mother Devahuti in his ability to uh, to uh, to talk about Sankhya Yoga philosophy, which is going to be very interesting as the time progresses. But before that, we have to recognize a person who is giving knowledge. He is no less than God. He is not God, but he is no less than God, as it is proclaimed here by Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is an exalted personality. He himself is quoting here, saying that Maitreya Muni is like God here. That's the first point. And the second point is how to ask questions, how to ask a question in a probing but humble manner, so that we learn our knowledge. We will learn the knowledge and not become a fact checker or a person who is trying to defy and counter somebody in the ability to know something. So beautiful subject matter, and I hope we discussed about some of the key points in this verse, and the beautiful devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is glorified, and sometimes that glorification is more sweet to hear. But if you have any question, comments, corrections, we can always discuss. Otherwise, thank you so much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very much, Hema Jagannath. We'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day and week ahead. We'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Shri Nrsimha Jai
Jai
Nrsimha
Nrsimha, Jai
Jai Jai
Nrsimha,
Nrsimha
Jai Jai Nrsimha, Prahlad Jai Padma Mukha Padma Briham.
Ugravinam
Ugram Veeram Mahavishnu Jalantam Sarvatomukham.
Nrsimha
Nrsimha Kirtanam Bhadram Mrityam Mrityam Namamyaham.
Bhagwan ki jai, Balaram
Jai,
Bhagwan ki jai.
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the Hasamal Vaishnavas,
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu bheva patitanam
Patitanam
pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namaha.
namo namah.
Vaishnavinda ki jai,
Jai,
Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Hare.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Hema Jagannath Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Hare Krishna.